Let's take a look at the market, see what it's doing live, to consolidate what we've seen so far in this playlist. So let's take advantage of the fact that a piece of news is coming, a PMI announcement is coming, to see also how the news affects the system. I mean, it affects it in the sense that it gives it volatility. It makes it faster in doing its things. And it's also an excellent indicator of what the price's intention is and what the direction is. Because you'll notice a lot with the news that suddenly the price moves in this direction. And if the price wants to go bullish, it will touch a level of something and immediately we'll get a wig, a reverse. Same applies for the opposite case if the news comes out negative for the 10 white, which causes the Nasdaq to go up, where if the price reaches and touches something, it immediately makes a reversal and can give us a good indication of what the price was aiming for. The news helps it reach there and goes away. The opposite happens when the news is also favorable for the DD. The direction the market wants to take then. The price simply goes, makes a pullback to the area it left before and continues from there. So it's almost time for the news so we can see a little bit. What happened here was the opening. The price started to build a flip upwards. It pulled this out. Tried to make delivery from several slips downwards, but never managed to break this. Well, the news in the report came out positive for the 10 white. So we are going down in Nasdaq. And look at this. Look at this reaction. So what area did we have here? We had this area. The market's shaping up for the bulls. Next, check if the key support break doesn't influence price drop. If it holds, breaking another key level can confirm the bullish trend. It's an excellent indication that we were bullish and that this was what the price might have been looking for down here to start moving into an upward continuation. All this order flow that we have been building, and here we have, for example, already looking at the issue of multi-temporality. We are in a bearish origin at this moment. But this origin was generated as a result of the 30% of this area up here. And if we see, its 50% is unmitigated. From the moment we left the low, its 50% is unmitigated. So if this breaks that responsible one I told you about, this is a good target to liquidate and achieve that objective. And from there, waiting for confirmation, we could also have a BAU, a bearish BAU, have a downward reaction to take some trades. But these kinds of things, when they happen like this, give clarity on the price intention. When the news comes out and this happens, touches a level and goes away immediately. Well, we broke that responsible one right there. What's the highest point? This was our high up until now. So here we have the responsible one left. Let's see what the price offers us to see if we can take longs. Rejection in 1 minute here. If we had closed with body. Here. Rejection in 1 minute. But still, due to the high volatility, it's easier to find wicks the higher we go in time frame. It happens at the opening, and it happens after news. It's easy for the price to give us rejections. Errors due to high volatilities. So let's say that it gives us a good narrative of what this rejection means, and what happens with the responsible one. It reaches the limit of the responsible one. Well, Well, and this responsible one as such is also inside of that. It has to be this area, which is that last movement is inside of this. So, sometimes you have to take into account the area that contains the responsible so that the price doesn't suddenly make a sweep of the internal area and continue respecting the one that contains it and then it goes away.
Well, now for the areas, if we want to take this entire area, this is more of a back test.
I have a lot of variations with the news. I usually do this and take the area, see what is happening, if it is happening or not. Sometimes I usually take the week before the news. So, that's more of a debate. To say more experience in that territory. Well, here it is the internal, but it has not yet sent me.
This other float, we bring in a low of the Vibralians. I would like to take out those hikes before starting to look for shorts, because if not, the price will not meet the price that I am getting. So I want a confirmation that whoever takes out one of these hikes does not want to enter. They earn a lot.
And there it went, to something more decent. Let's see if it does a pullback. Let's see in a minute. What would it be? Candle pattern. It would be this high. Let's see if this high is the same as the other one. I like when they do it like that. I would have preferred a body with a body. This is the high that this low put. This low is this high. This was the low of this high. So it would have been better to have a body with a body. A body with a body would be all this area. It would have been all this area. But look, we don't have a body with a body. So for structure, no.
Not validated yet, and more considering that this high was generated from this area. So what this could imply is that it could also mean that we are generating a double roof as well, and it is not an optimal scenario for it to go long. Some point when he made the first high, but it's not a scenario where I want to participate because it's also building a setup in my opposite direction. And this is where that order flow fight usually starts. It starts like this, and see how I easily saw a loss for that by checking where the candle pattern is formed and seeing in what way it did it. And seeing this and that it is generating from this area and is doing a double take. The function of the double take is to take the load of that leg of displacement. I prefer to avoid it. If this had been done a TR with a body, for instance a body above this height, it would be much better. And if I had taken this one out and even done the pullback before taking the high target, it would have been much more favorable. But look how it is necessary to consider the possibility that the price is doing us a double roof. Well, at this point, we would be around 50% of that range. But remember that we also came from the rejection of this in a minute. So that's why we are letting it give us narrative. Because as we saw the rejection here and the price of the high, we also have this possibility in this rejection. 15 seconds is also rejection. In 5 seconds it was the only one that was closed with a tail.
But I really don't want to go against the system itself. Just yet. In fact, if I wanted to take a pretty optimal setup,
Based on my concepts, what could I expect if this is going to fulfill its function?
Maybe take that wolf to hit 50% of the area we left below.
But now we need to see what the price does with the we from the news, where the volume generated the rivers. But it could be what I would expect more, to avoid going long with the uncertainty around here,
Of whether this rejection will fulfill its function or not. Unless it provides a very clear setup. It is 50% of this entire range, which is exactly where the price is at this moment. So here, per amor. The truth. I'd rather stay with my arms crossed to see if this flip that happened here comes to finish mitigating this responsible one in law. Here is the same as above. The small responsible within the bigger responsible. So we're mitigating that. And as long as I don't break this, like in the order flow session, this won't unlock the upside. This is the first door that the price faces when I want to look for a change of order flow to the responsible one. If it doesn't break it, and instead the delivery starts from it, I prefer to wait again. Why? Because everything is looking bearish. Until this point, everything is looking bearish. From where? From this rejection. The fact that we haven't had a closing with the body here already takes away confidence in looking for those longs from here. And here is where the price reached the responsible one. Tried to make a bullish setup, and didn't succeed. Here, where the candle pattern was supposed to form, what happened was a rejection. Starting from this fractal, the price had validated by order flow. Here was the fractal that gave some continuation, but the rise stemmed from rejecting the earlier low point. Then it takes the high of that leg of displacement. Took it perfectly. But at the same time then it generates this from this fractal. A rejection that arrives and takes the load too, but does it with body. Here it rejects a bit, but the next candle closes with body. And then we take that out. So it's fulfilling its function and doing the complete delivery, overage so far. And if that was the bullish responsible for getting us this hype at this moment, we broke it, so that was worth the change of order load. Let's see. Now leave the data. Weak in this time frame. To the wick of the news. Let's see what it offers us. Since we don't have anything clear in the varies. Not in the bullish. Sorry. No need to enter now. As I say, for now, my scenario to enter more aggressively, with more confidence, would be seeing the price here. But for now, no. I don't want to enter aggressively because of how the order was. Despite seeing those taps that top so clear, and they give a reaction. And everything I don't want to enter is late into the movement when I'm going against the order flow. That is being built in the lower time frame well. Let's clean this up a bit. Here we would have the one responsible for having broken this one. Let's see if it changes the order flow from that data week, or if it simply comes to mitigate this. Swept the first tap. It would be good to see a flip from that sweep. Otherwise it would be preserved to keep going a bit higher. Looking for some setups this way. Observe another aspect of their IP. Order flow reviews the area to determine any responsible party. And if it starts to give a reaction, I'll definitely wait for confirmation. I don't want to rush in. It's valid to scalp aggressively
especially when we want to trade evaluations with high risk. It's valid to trade aggressively, all these rejections, all these things. But when it comes to properly managing an account, do you want clear confirmations? And to take steps with everything aligned in our favor. Since the price failed to break that low and begins to struggle with order flow again between this rejection and what was being built here in the lower time frame. So we see the importance of waiting for confirmations and not chasing price due to momentum, especially when it's about to break a low. And here's the typical area where many go short immediately, just because they see it taking out that low, let's say, or because they see the candles going down, and then the price pulls back, especially if they trade with a 5-point stop, which many do 5 to 5, taking ratios of 1 to 1, so if they trade 5 points there, they get stopped out and then get back to break even. So let's not start entering that way by chasing price. It's the worst thing we can do, especially when our own system is telling us that at the start of certain movements there is an origin, and that's where a reaction usually occurs. And we already broke with this order flow. We broke it with a body. Knowing what to do then from this area, it did a sweep here. This is the trap I usually share in my Discord, in case studies when the price tends to liquidate this. To come and touch something without mitigating and then continue its path. So to also give it a study in the Discord. Let's see if it forms a candle pattern in 5 seconds. This is the previous fractal that set this high. We pulled back to it, and it is still holding. Rejection from this one. Let's see if the pattern can be formed. Otherwise, the same as here, we continue to maintain that order flow. Removes it, and now we can see maybe a more aggressive move. But let's see. Here there was also a bullish flip. See how when the price starts to encounter things in both directions, it starts to fight. Here it made it rise all the way from this origin. It comes here. But look here how it also took out the responsible party and makes this bullish flip. And well, it's an unlikely scenario to place a trade. I'm waiting to place a trade, but I most want to. Placing it at this moment would be from this point. Or if it touches the 50, this could also look again for another rejection until the double top. If we are really seeing it, the double top would fulfill its function. If on the contrary, all this bullish move that it has been making here is going to seek this magnet above, then this would fail. third rejection. We could say that the double top is present up to this point. Double top. This first tap didn't manage to make a boss. In fact, it didn't manage to break the current structure. So this bullish flip contained the price. So it's less likely that when we were talking in the session about what the complete pattern is, and we were saying like the first tap we want a quick scalp that generate a break in the structure, and in that way we would be ensuring that the current zone is validated by order flow, and thus we have a higher probability on our side as well. Let's observe that from this rejection. Now here talking a bit about fractals again. When you see this like this by structure in 5 seconds, this is usually the candle pattern in 1 minute as well. Similar to what we saw up here with this rejection as well. This is usually the candle pattern. In a minute, this is usually the wick. That makes the high. This is the last low of that pullback that occurred. Then the price comes and takes out that low, goes up and takes out the high. And here there's a pullback to the 50 of that candle pattern. But since it's with rejection, look how it takes so long to make that delivery. Because the struggle of functions begins. And the order line rejection that indicates a downward movement. And there's that upward pattern. So look here. The price arrived, fell here. It went up here. From here it started to fall. And it only shows you the high. And there it is. Well, it retracted here. And look at all the time it takes to come and complete that flip. Unfortunately, there's rejection here. And that makes the outlook more ambiguous. Well, let's see now what the price does with these zones. For now, the data is being delivered weekly, and the person responsible was removed. Now, the area that had generated the setup earlier was this one here. We had a reaction there again. Responsible for producing this responsible. I can interpret it as this one. Yes, the price. If this area continues to give a lot of trouble to break, then that's where they might look for some reason to make that continuation. But it would be good if you told us the price that no longer wants to hold this area, which is the one that made this double top here, and so we could finish completing the bullish movement. Let's see how it happens first. If it suddenly falls around here, I might look for some scalp if it gives me confirmation with pattern. Otherwise, I won't enter aggressively because I'm still in this area by order. So I can always consider the possibility that it's the tab and the double top from the entire area that validates the price by order. And see how that fight begins. So when we talked about market profile, we said it reaches an order flow area, an origin, etc., and it struggles with an order flow that is building in the opposite direction. The price starts to form a range, even in 5 seconds. Look how this fractality of what is happening in the price looks. But when the price then starts to break swing points, it is the first thing I look at. How the price starts to close. 5 seconds to close. Close with the body. Let's see now what happens with the magnet we have up here. And the target. As we talked about how this is a high time area of 15 minutes, this area that was generated here, the price will also take its equivalent time to develop a narrative. So there is no need to rush to set a limit or anything. We can calmly wait. Here is an ITH. This is a high within an imbalance. This is more than... ICT has always been good targets too. It's before the 50%. And after the sweeper, these things can also get a good reaction. So with DTFX, what we are looking for is a sweep of these things before looking for a setup. It is going pretty linearly there. He also got the immediate hit, which gave 5 reaction points. We will wait now for it to arrive here and start showing if his intention is to give a bounce downward or if this whole delivery that we have been building from the 50, this, then the 50, this internal change here with this high and this high, then the 50, this came here to see if all this order is going to start leaving us quite upward. The magnet is now completed. Now, it's simply a matter of waiting for confirmations. I don't want to get completely aggressive here. There is already directly a candle pattern in 5 seconds. We left the whole area from a moment ago without going down. So, remember that aggressive movements also in the observations class. I indicate how I do not want to get carried away by the first flip that the price makes or the first tap, since the price sometimes retests it, so we don't get messed up because of that. We need it to give us something clear, or if one wants to enter, give it a breather so it can swipe the first tap. Well, then alright there, it gives the tap to that magnet, and if the price is in normal conditions and not too strong, this delivery is not such a fundamental delivery or a manual positioning. It should give us the pullback at least to that area we left behind. Because remember that the price, seeing a high or a low, finds reasons to start consolidating. And if we get all the consolidation and a setup, we can see the pullback. On the hourly, then okay. I'll leave this video here for now. I'll also leave you all the market reviews we've done so that from those you can see all this type of analysis in past markets, how everything is built up, what the price is reacting to, And so you can piece together all that theory well. Okay, let's finish seeing what the price does here to see if suddenly it does end up doing a sweep to this hike from this area. Then here a battle is going to start with that order flow. The previous 5-second structure area that the price made with a valid pullback here. Here there was no valid pullback. Generally, this area that is generated like this is the first one that the price sweeps when reacting to something. So, it gets a lot of timing. And let's see if that makes that first candle pattern false. If on the contrary, it goes to area 2, and if we would go to this range. But the first thing is always to consider is a strong movement of taking things from a higher time frame. I hope the price takes its time to develop the pattern, and that the first flip the price makes is a fake when I'm inside a range, when I'm with a calm price, when the price is doing all its narrative, then the flips are more efficient to take. Quickly, when the price is doing this, when it comes making impulse retracement. But before movements like this, I can always expect a second movement that ends up taking this out, and then see if it gives me a confirmation, or if it is going to be a strong movement. Then there it is. It finishes taking out the high. Everything from the previous 5-second structure that had been generated, so just keep all these things in mind, all these rules. Everything that happens stems from what? From losses, of not understanding why the price has taken me out so many times while learning a system. This also usually happens with an imbalance. For example, if there were an imbalance under this low, the only imbalance in this entire movement on a higher time frame, and the price comes and sweeps the low to touch the imbalance. It also puts this high at risk. So these are things that one has to learn through practice. Just like, well, I'm up here in this suite, the double ceiling possibility from this area, which wasn't valid due to order flow, to avoid that upward flip that caused it from there. The reason not to get into this scenario was all that order flow struggle, and also here, the trap that I share in case studies doesn't end up being fully liquidated, which is that it removes this, touches the origin, something unmitigated, and as I was saying, to continue the movement because I hold a 50% of the candle pattern in 1 minute, which doesn't inspire confidence in me, since it does this to me. And there's the reason. Whenever we have this, it's because we're actually in a scenario where the price has a conflict of interest. The main order flow ends up winning, and everything that has been developing over these days. Yes, but it's a scenario where frustrations can easily arise, and the price keeps moving from one side to another. If you don't understand that, something is fighting in both directions from here. I went something gray, as I was saying. I look at the general structure, then the data week, separately, and from there, the whole sector. And I like something from over here, first, to be more aggressive, and not get into this order flow struggle, not to see myself against this order flow struggle, and thus have more probability on my side. So I hope this entire playlist has been very helpful, and that you now continue with the market reviews, which are not completely live analyses like these. But I go into much more detail throughout the session, throughout the entire time frame, in everything the price is doing, in how I'm selecting the different zones, from where the price is doing certain things to feed your visual data, and so you can go and put it into practice in your chart. Bye bye.